Local is relative, so I'm taking the locals nationwide to meet entrepreneurs of independently owned businesses. Folks, I am thrilled to welcome you to the Locals Heartland Tour. Folks, welcome back to another episode of The Locals. My name is Ryan Gladshofer, and I'm spotlighting courageous entrepreneurs. And today I am in Green Bay, Wisconsin, chatting with a really cool YouTuber. His name is John from Resale Rabbit. John, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Sir, how did this channel come to be?
Actually, before we get started, there was something that I wanted to add in.
Okay.
We have a uniform here. So I got something for you that I'm going to request you wear throughout this process. I waited till now because I wanted to see your reaction on camera.
Fair enough. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I have to wear this?
Oh, there's more.
Parsons?
Micah Parsons.
Fair enough. I don't know if I'm going to wear this. I'm not hating on Green Bay. I'm really not. Because like the Bears have not done themselves well in the last few years. Let's be real. I have to wear this?
When you told me you were a Bears fan, I went out and bought these just for you.
Now, you see, that's a start of a nice friendship, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll put it on just for a few seconds. How does that sound?
All right.
Folks, I'm in Green Bay, and I'm putting up with this crap.
You're finally wearing something from a winning tradition.
Damn. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for the warm welcome. We're talking about business here, and I was kind of curious. The Green Bay Packers, they're the only team that offered community-owned stock. What does that mean from a business perspective, and how does that kind of help you connect with the team and the local community?
So the Packers are the only team in the NFL that doesn't have an owner. The owner is the fans. And they've done stock sales, and fun fact, I am now an owner of the Green Bay Packers.
Well, look at you go.
Minority owner of an NFL team looks great on my resume. Right next to 2006 Man of the Year.
So let's start from the beginning. What's your background?
So I am a high school dropout who was looking for a quick and easy way to make some money. I've always been buying and selling, wheeling and dealing my whole life ever since I was this tall.
How do you approach it? Do you just buy random things? Do you go to different stores? Where do you get the items from?
It can come from anywhere. I'm always calculating. It could be clearance items from a retail store. It could be stuff from a garage sale, a thrift store. If the store closes, I might show up and offer to buy out the whole place.
Okay.
We do liquidation. We'll get truckloads of product from various retailers. Storage auctions, similar concept, and it's so much fun digging through people's stuff. You know, you get to learn their story and find some, it's like a treasure hunt. You never know what you're gonna find.
That's a great way of putting it.
In this picture, I could tell it looked vintage, but then when we zoomed in and looked at it a little more closely, do you guys recognize that? That's an old Matchbox logo, I'm pretty certain of it. And this one's up to $330 now. I don't know what to expect in this one, but I think I will go hog wild and just get this one for whatever it costs. Here is the Matchbox box. And the lady that works here, I was talking to her about that's what I saw. And so she wanted me to point it out. With a storage unit, it can be anything and everything. And I took a gamble and went a little crazy and bid $900 on this unit.
High roller?
When I started going through it, I realized how much of a treasure trove it was. It was a model train shop. They put all of their inventory in this storage unit. At least half the boxes I'm pulling out are full of freight cars. The money in here is insane. I cannot believe this. So many of these boxes are just freight cars, locomotives. Some of them I'll pull the top book off and it turns out it's all train cars underneath. More freight cars. I don't think you guys have ever seen me buy something that just left me speechless like this. So far we've sold $20,000 worth of inventory and we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. My estimation is after about a year and a half, we'll finish at about 80,000.
For folks out there that don't know much about the liquidation process and what this industry is like, can you explain it in kind of layman's terms?
So the liquidation side of the business, when stores have inventory that they don't want to have on their shelves, maybe it's seasonal stuff that's out of season.
They can't sell it?
They can't sell it, they don't want to sell it. You know, they could clearance out their Christmas stuff until March, but that shelf space is a lot more valuable to get Easter on right away. So they will pull it all and they will sell it at pennies on the dollar in large quantities. And so that's where we get it. It could also be things like customer returns or vendor returns, things like that.
What is driving the growth of the liquidation industry?
It's something that anybody can do. You don't need to have any specialized knowledge or skills, and it's low-hanging fruit for a business. It doesn't require a lot of funds to get started.
Sure.
I mean, you can go and buy a pallet, pick it up yourself, sell the stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and your total startup costs are $600. But even if you go larger scale, bin stores, they're popping up everywhere. There is obviously some cost. You need employees, you need a retail location. You're probably gonna start with a few truckloads of product. $50,000 to $100,000 gets you a fully running business. When we get a truckload of product, there are generally 3 different avenues where that product can go.
Okay.
It can go on eBay, it can go in an auction, or it can go in one of our warehouse sales. Anything that's lower value, we're probably gonna run through one of our warehouse sales.
So would you mind telling me a little bit more about the warehouse sales that you do?
A lot of people know the term Dutch auction, but for those that don't, it's basically a reverse auction. In an auction, an item starts at $1 and you bid it higher and higher and higher. In a Dutch auction, an item starts at a set amount, say $10, and then it gets lower and lower and lower. We have tables full of merchandise, and the first day, everything is $10 per item. And then whatever's left the second day is $7 per item. And whatever's left the third day is $6, and it continues to drop until it's $1 per item. So that's kind of what we do with a lot of the bulk we get from Amazon or Walgreens, where it's not super high dollar stuff where we want to auction it, but it's still good stuff, toothpaste, shampoo, things that everybody needs.
Titletown Auction Company, tell me more about it.
Our city, we've got a ton of titles, Super Bowl championships, NFL championships. You might not know a lot about that, but that's why we're called Titletown.
Getting back on the topic here, tell me more about it.
It's online auctions. Everything starts at $2 and it sells for whatever it sells for. Mm-hmm. We'll go into a home after someone has passed or if they're moving into assisted living and sell off everything. So it's kind of like an online estate sale. And then we also bring items into our facility. We've got antique dealers, pickers, storage unit buyers who will bring stuff here and then we'll sell it in the same format.
I see all these different numbers. How do you kind of prepare all this for events and such?
So for the auctions, as items come in, everything gets an inventory tag. Certain items would just sell on their own, like a set of golf clubs. Other items that just aren't super high in value, we would lot together with like items. For instance, a set of dishes probably isn't worth selling on its own, so we'll put it with some silverware and some Tupperware. So we'll sort it into lots, display it like this. People will buy it online and come pick it up. We'll take pictures of the items. Brighter, sunnier pictures, the stuff will look better and it will sell better. I know, nobody's gonna think, well, it's cloudy outside, I'm not bidding on this thing. No, but it looks better and subconsciously they're willing to pay more. We're writing up a description for it, and that is attached to a lot number. And that's what the cards you see here are, is the lot number for each item. That way we can find it when it sells. We've got 550 lot cards made. We've got everything on tables. Everything's tagged here, ready to be sold. This is all on our website. People are bidding on it, of course. It's basically the online item associated with the physical item here.
So I'm looking around this really cool, massive space that you have. You have all these different signs. Where do you collect all of these?
I find them all over the place. Some of them have a little bit more meaning, like the auction today, one was a sign that a local auctioneer who's been in the business forever, he passed away, and when they auctioned off all of his equipment, I was able to buy one of the signs, so I kind of hang it up as an homage to him.
Your channel is called Resale Rabbit. Where did that name come from?
The name started before the channel. I was traveling, selling online before I was on YouTube. Resale Rabbit here at the Sunny Flea Market in Houston, Texas with Alan Mendoza. Let's see what we'll find. My favorite band, Gaelic Storm, they have a song called Darcy's Donkey. And they have a little plush donkey that whenever they go, as they're touring, they'll take a picture of the donkey in front of the St. Louis Arch or Mount Rushmore, wherever they happen to be. I kind of wanted to do something like that. I thought of just making like a Facebook blog basically, and I would have some sort of mascot. So I was trying to think of something related to resale, but still, like a mascot, an animal. Resale Rabbit floated off the tongue, hopping city to city nationwide. Good morning, everybody. Resale Rabbit here with ResaleRabbit.com, and I am back on YouTube. Just checking out of my hotel room. Let's go downstairs. How's that for some awesome production value? At one point, I was just, going on a road trip and stopped at a thrift store, found some stuff, and kind of turned that into something. Dude. All right, we found a thrift shop that appears to be open. And it got to the point where for my last couple of years on the road, I didn't have an apartment or a house. All my stuff was in a storage unit. I would be in a different hotel every night, different city. Finally got to the hotel, and looking at the door here, you would really think this is a dive box motel. But it's actually quite nice. I really didn't have a route. If it's raining to the west, guess I'm going east.
Yeah.
And so I was just wherever. My whole life was a vacation.
What has been one of the most unique or fascinating places that you've been to in your travels?
I love Texas. The food there is outstanding.
Okay.
Whenever someone tells me they're going to Texas, especially like the Austin area, I'll give them a list of places. They'll gain 20 pounds just on a weekend trip. All right, we are at Taco Deli. We got a couple of, what were these called?
Akadushi Picadillo.
Akadushi Picadillo. I'm gonna forget that in about 3 minutes. And then I got a sirloin and cheese, all decked out with salsa. Got some limes to squeeze some juice in them. Looks delicious. I also really like certain parts of the Southeast that have the historic charm to it. Charleston, Savannah.
I would assume that your YouTube channel is also profitable?
I do make money off of it. If YouTube was my main focus, I would be losing so much money. But ultimately, my YouTube channel just kind of follows me around in the business. I rarely do special videos just for YouTube. Occasionally, if I see a deal that looks like, oh, this would be really good on YouTube, I might pay a little extra. But the way I look at it, YouTube is a hobby for me. I really enjoy making the videos. Clover is home to the world's largest potato masher. Now we just need some giant potatoes for this thing. It's huge. I enjoy meeting people along the way. We are at the Paws and Claws thrift shop in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
That's right.
Who do we have here?
Eliana.
Eliana?
And this is for animals. We are volunteers. And we are glad we have this gentleman here from Wisconsin.
There are definitely a lot of perks with it. The money is not the perk. If I went all in and brought in a bunch of sponsors and every video had the same sponsors that every other YouTuber has, yeah, I'd probably make a decent living. But right now I see it as a hobby that doesn't cost money.
Any videos that kind of stand out to you?
So the NFL draft video was a lot of fun. The warehouse sale videos tend to perform very well. A lot of people seem to enjoy them, where it's usually a 3-part series. Part 1 is setting up, and then part 2 and 3 are the sale. If you go way back, my favorite videos, when I was traveling for a little while, I had an actual videographer who would film and edit.
You did? Okay.
And they were really well done. It looked like a reality show.
Cool.
I loved them.
We're in Vegas, baby. I am here with my buddy Jameson. We're gonna do some thrifting today, and we're gonna find some good stuff. This guy is a pro. Let's go.
My viewers hated them. So, ultimately I stopped doing it that way because I'm not gonna spend a bunch of money on this for something that people don't like. I think viewers prefer the authentic me holding up the camera and just rambling on, which I understand. It's obviously a lot easier and cheaper for me to do it that way. But I often go back and just rewatch those because I feel like a movie star watching those.
Has YouTube opened up opportunities for you that were unexpected?
I've been getting a lot of speaking engagements where I will be invited to speak at a conference or a trade show or something like that, which is a lot of fun. I love public speaking.
Awesome.
Some of them I really feel like a stand-up comedian because I'll get the crowd going.
So I always like to start these things by asking the crowd, how many people, show of hands, subscribe to me on YouTube? Rude. Wow. So for those of you who don't have your hands up, you want to take a minute, pull out your phone, and go ahead and subscribe. I don't get paid for this, so.
My favorite part of YouTube,
Let's hear it.
if I'm going through a storage unit or something and I find an item and I don't know what it is, I will say I don't know what this is, and there will be some expert somewhere who will tell me what it is. And I made like $2,000 because of that. I found some vintage shirts that I didn't think were worth anything.
Oh, cool.
And I was just gonna, toss them. And someone's like, no, that shirt's $300 and that shirt's $200.
Whoa, Marlboro Sportswear? Is that the same like the cigarette company?
How long have you been creating videos on your Resale Rabbit channel, and was there a inflection point when it kind of blew up?
So I started, I want to say 2015-ish. Maybe a year or two later, I hit 1,000 subscribers, and I was so excited.
Of course.
And I think the beginning of that video, like I'm jumping and cheering.
As of a couple of days ago, I've officially hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. I just want to thank every last one of you. When I started this YouTube channel back in April, I would have been excited for 10 subscribers and a couple of views per video. This is just turning into something that I really enjoy doing.
That was the most exciting milestone. Not 100,000, not 200,000, 1,000. 1,000 people want to watch this crap that I put on the internet.
It's not crap.
It kind of is. It's very, I'm known for being low effort and a lot of rambling. The people who watch video after video, they absolutely love the rambling. I don't know why. I think my videos are terrible. I always recommend people put it on like 2 times speed and you can get through it faster, but my viewers are great. They love it.
For all my editor friends and media colleagues, how do you edit your videos?
I film on my phone and I edit with Windows Movie Maker.
There you go.
I do have Premiere, which I will use a couple times a year if I need to do like an overlay or something, you know, something fancy. But most of the time it is Movie Maker and I'm just doing keystrokes and, you know, jetting right through it. I film in the order that it's going to be finally done.
How long did it take you to scale up to get a warehouse?
Well, that's a tricky question because for a while I didn't even have a house. I was on the road. But once I decided to have a home base, I got the warehouse right away because I wanted to get into liquidation, and you can't really have semi-trucks unloading product at your house. So I started with the space that we're in right now, which is just one suite of this building. It was about 7,000 square feet. And then it grew from there.
And what prompted you to select this specific space?
Time. When I got this warehouse, I already had a truckload of product booked and ordered, and the supplier was asking for an address. I have a truck coming to Wisconsin. I need a place to unload it and put it. And it actually worked out really well. We were able to expand here. We have 4 different suites in this building now, and it's a great location.
I saw that you have a few Redboxes. How did you acquire them, and is there any cool stories behind that?
So I worked with a company who was contracted to get rid of all of the Redboxes from Walmarts in our region. They reached out to us about buying them from them. 8 cabinets and 8 panels in varying condition. 7 of those cabinets should be full of movies. They never opened them, so it's presumed they will be. 1 they cut open and they took the movies out. I spent $1,000 delivered. I broke one down and took it all apart and, you know, sold some of the parts in it. So I looked this up, that number right there, and it is about 30, 40 bucks or so. 185 movies, a mix of DVD and Blu-ray, which should make me about 160 bucks or so. This is worth between $40 and $70. This is a power supply, a little converter, and this is going for about 75. This motor sold for 20. This motor, no solds. People are listing it for 150. Found a little Wi-Fi thing. This is about 25, 30 bucks on eBay. These drivers, they were mounted on this rail on the side here. This one seems to be selling for about 65. And then I sold the kiosks themselves, the carcass of it. I'm gonna turn into a cabinet because people are retrofitting them. This is how we're gonna sell it. And as a bonus, I left the outlet in there because that outlet is just wired to this. I feel like that's an extra bonus. You've got power inside of the cabinet. I sold all of the DVDs to a person in Nebraska.
Do you know by chance who owns that company?
Owned, they don't exist anymore, but Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. So if you've heard of the books, Chicken Soup for the Soul, they also owned Redbox.
Why would they own a Redbox company?
Diversification, I guess. I have no idea. I think it was originally started, McDonald's was a part of it because they wanted to put them in their locations.
Yeah.
But a fun fact, when I was selling the kiosks, the assistant of the founder of Redbox actually reached out to me, and the founder wanted a kiosk, and we almost got a deal worked out, but he wanted a red one. So a lot of mine came from Walmart, so they're blue. You know, Walmart had their own special color. He had no part of Redbox when they filed bankruptcy. My understanding is he had sold it off.
That's ironic because you're trying to get back what he started, right? That's wild. That's really interesting.
I was really hoping I could put that deal together, even if I had a discount or something, because
Yeah.
it'd be really cool to be the person
Yeah.
who supplied a Redbox to the founder.
As you've built this business and the YouTube channel as well, would you mind sharing some mistakes that you've made that have helped you kind of learn, grow, and kind of move forward accordingly?
In 2017, if I remember right, I opened a retail store. Biggest mistake of my life. It was a flop. I lost so much money and we closed after 9 months, a year maybe.
May I ask how much money did you lose?
I don't know the specific number. I stuck about 100 grand into it and I did not get that back. So I obviously didn't lose 100 grand because we made some, but it was a horrible mistake. But I would absolutely do it again because I learned so much about retail that I took a lot of those lessons here for our warehouse sales, and that's one of the reasons the warehouse sales are doing as well as they are.
What went wrong?
So our inventory management was a nightmare. We would bring in, a truckload of product and all the really good stuff, we'd get it to the sales floor right away because that's what draws people in.
Yeah.
And the not so great stuff would just be stacked in the back on pallets. And next thing you know, we've got, 48 pallets of not so good stuff here that we've paid for. We need to find a way to move it. Learning how to manage the inventory and, get a good flow on getting it through. That way you don't have stuff sitting forever. I'm a lot better at it now than I was then.
How do you handle the pressures of owning a business and all these different logistical, somewhat nightmares, if you would call them that?
I thrive on it.
Where does that come from?
I've always worked really well under pressure. In school, if there was a project where we had 3 weeks to do it, I was doing it the night before it was due. I cannot focus unless I have that pressure. So when you put that pressure on me, that's where I thrive. That's where I do my best work.
How has your experience been with hiring employees?
Very stressful, especially in the beginning. When I first decided to hire employees, the first thing I did was I hired an HR consultant because I had no idea what I was doing. I paid for a few hours and she basically just gave me the rundown of what I needed to know, answered all my questions, and that was very valuable.
Did you know the roles that need to be filled?
I did, and I was wrong.
How so?
I had a plan on, okay, here's what this employee is going to do, here's what that employee is going to do. And just like anything, once you actually start working, things don't always go to plan. You realize that someone's strengths might be elsewhere or there's more of a need somewhere else. For instance, I had one person, I had 2 or 3 tasks that I was going to have him do, and I realized once he started working how much effort was needed for just one of those tasks. And by month 3, I realized, what, this is your job. I'm going to have someone else do the other things. And it's nothing against his work ethic or his skill level. It's just when you actually get the plan off the paper and start doing it, you realize there's a little bit more to it than expected. Another thing, before I hired employees, a friend of mine actually told me this and it stuck with me. He said, you will never find an employee that works as hard as you.
Because it's your vision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Employees, it's not their vision. They don't have skin in the game. They're here to clock in, do a job, and clock out.
Have they ever asked for skin in the game or any sort of equity?
No, I initially thought about doing more of a commission base, especially for the eBay lister, but a lot of good employees, they don't want to work on commission. They want that peace of mind of having that paycheck. You take away that peace of mind, you might as well just start your own business.
But isn't there also an opportunity to have like a base salary and then commission?
There is. You need to have the base salary competitive enough where if they're coming in anticipating to only get the base, that they're comfortable with it. Sure. I've found the way to have good employees is to treat them well, pay above market, give good benefits. I'm very flexible with time off. We have
I love that.
a few days throughout the year, like our event sales, for instance, where we are stern. We need to be here those days. But beyond that, as long as the job is getting done, you want to take a Friday off? Take a Friday off. I don't care. We kind of have unlimited sick time, and I try to make it a good place to work, a place where they want to be here. Because most people, they don't want to go to work. And I can tell you right now, my employees, if their option was come to work or be retired, they'd prefer to be retired.
Wouldn't we all though?
Absolutely. But I can tell you, and I've heard stories from my employees about how they've been offered jobs that even pay more and they've turned them down.
Wow.
They want to work here. If they have to work, this is where they want to be. And that is another very proud moment of mine when I hear things like that, because I really try to make it a place where you want to be.
On this show, I really encourage guests to embrace vulnerability and share some of the struggles that they've had. Can you share a time that you did not maybe think that this would work, or you might have had to abandon it? And how did you get through that, and who supported you through that period of time?
You think you're going to go out of business at least 3-4 times a year. It ebbs and flows. You'll go, a few weeks, a few months where you're on top of the world. We're doing so good. We're growing so much. And then you'll have a few weeks to a few months where the world is crashing down and, oh, how are we going to survive this? And
yeah.
I have put together contingency plans on what happens if we go out of business multiple times a year over the past few years. So there are always the high points and the low points. There were 2 points where we were very close to going out of business. The first was when I closed the store.
The retail store, correct?
The first retail store. I've had 2. So when I closed the store, I'd signed a 3 or 5 year lease not long earlier on a building. I owed a lot of money, and I was able to work out a deal with the landlord on a lease buyout. But at that point, revenue was slipping, and so I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And I used to have a pool table up there. I sold that in anticipation of having to clear this place out.
I'm sorry.
But I had actually talked to the landlord here and said, I don't think we're going to be able to make it. And he offered up another one of his locations that was much smaller, but much cheaper to try and help us keep going. But he said, in the meantime, we'll just market this place, stay here, but pay the lower rate for the other place. When we find a tenant, we'll move you over there. Thankfully, they never found a tenant. And after 6 months or however long, I was able to rebound, and I basically told them, hey, I want to stay here.
Yeah.
And we went back to the normal rate. And so having a great landlord really helped there. But that was one of the moments where I really thought we were done for. And another one was more recently. Our warehouse sales have been seeing a pretty significant decline over the past few years. And we used to do $80,000 every warehouse sale. Now we're doing $30,000 every warehouse sale. With the warehouse sales at the time being the main focus on the business, it didn't seem like things were going to work well for us. Mm-hmm. So I was actually looking at a piece of real estate to buy and basically just sell eBay out of there and shut everything else down. Shortly before that, I was actually trying to sell the auction to put more effort into the liquidation side of the business. Had I done that, we wouldn't be sitting here today, because the auctions have grown so much where they are now the main focus of the business, and the warehouse sales are just an afterthought, a little extra cash.
And in these moments, who has been your main support system?
Mostly me. More recently, my wife has been, huge in being there for me and being that emotional support. And she's way smarter than me, so I can bounce ideas off of her and she can tell me why I'm stupid. But prior to her being in the picture, I was kind of always on my own. I had friends who own businesses where I can bounce ideas off of, but ultimately I carried the load, which was very difficult.
May I ask, how did you two meet, and what was her initial reaction of what you did? And does she come from an entrepreneurial background? What was her kind of reaction?
We met online. She had just moved up here for work from out of state. And she actually messaged me first. So she has poor decision-making capabilities, and I capitalized on that.
Damn.
But in the beginning, I led her on to believe that I was just an employee here, that I didn't own it. Because a certain type of person is attracted to business owners, and that's not the type of person that I wanted to attract. Now, her being smarter than me, she saw right through that from the start. I can't afford to have her work here. She makes way more than me, but it's a lot of fun when she can be a part of the business, the few times she's available.
What has been some of your proudest, if not the proudest moment that you've had while creating this business and along your journey here?
I would say my proudest moment, the NFL draft was in Green Bay. After the draft ended, we had the opportunity to sell off essentially memorabilia, but it was trash. It was parts of the stage, signage, stuff that was getting discarded.
We got this one with the football and the logo on it. I can't believe these were just in the trash.
I wanted a sign So I went and asked if they were throwing any out, and they told me they were giving them away to nonprofits. So that started ringing bells in my head. I said, I'm always thinking. I volunteer with the American Red Cross. I am the disaster lead. So I reached out to my supervisor with the Red Cross and said, hey, can we collect a bunch of this stuff and have a charity auction? So I was going around just taking, it was signage, it was parts of the stage. I had the big NFL draft sign that was 80 feet long above the stage. And so I was loading up, hauling the stuff here, and we were gonna do an auction, and we were able to raise $34,000 for the American Red Cross of Northeast Wisconsin.
Congratulations.
We had a lot of the things that you see on TV, including the bottom of the podium that every person who was drafted walked right past. This is the thing that we have. This part, the Packers Hall of Fame took, I'm shocked they did not take that part too. Lighting from the green room where the players were staged before their names were called. I figured out what it went to, just randomly happened to see a picture with it. It's right where they come out of the tunnel. It's that light, and when you zoom in, you can see the wood grain. A lot of really cool stuff, and that I think will be my favorite auction for a long time.
For any aspiring entrepreneurs, what would be your advice to them?
Just do it. You can plan all day, all year. There's always room for planning, but ultimately jumping right in and doing it. And I think that's the biggest value in my life, is I'm not afraid to take risks. I'm not gonna dip my toes in the water to see if it's warm or cold. I'm just gonna jump right in, both feet first. And for people looking to get into liquidation, don't be afraid to get on a plane, especially if you're buying full truckloads. You might spend $500 for flight, rental car, hotel, and then you can actually see the product in person first. It's an auction that I go to. I'll fly down to Georgia.
125, number 17.
And I'll schedule a semi-truck to be there too. And I'll just buy enough product to fill that semi-truck.
I bought 56 pallets for $10,670. And they are heading to Green Bay.
So you fly down to Georgia to inspect the items that you're going to get. Is that kind of precautionary? Have you had times where you purchase items that don't live up to your expectations?
In the liquidation business, there are a lot of scammers, a lot of people that will overpromise and underdeliver. So
That
it's
sucks.
important to know who you're doing business with, especially when you're dealing with large sums of money. If you're gonna wire someone $20,000 for a truckload of product, you wanna know that you can trust them, at least your first time looking at the load. One time, for instance, someone reached out to me. They contacted me and said, hey, we want to sell you this product. And it was like 12 grand. If they're reaching out to me and they're asking me to wire them 12 grand, I am absolutely going to spend the $500 to get on a flight and go make sure they're a real company and, you know, not somebody overseas trying to just get what they can out of me.
With everything that you have built, what's on the horizon? Where do you see this business and your channel as well going in the next couple of years?
Well, I recently took over a reseller event. It takes place here in the Midwest. It's called Planes to Profit. This year will be our third year, my first year running it. So I'm really excited about that. We get a party bus and go to thrift stores.
Oh, that's really cool. Super unique.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. It was so much fun. It was my favorite reseller event. I spoke the first 2 years there. And when I found out they weren't going to be doing it again, I reached out to one of the organizers and said, let's make this happen. Just come out of retirement for 1 year, show me the ropes, and I'll take over from there.
How do you balance your personal life with your business?
It's hard sometimes. I try to have set working hours, but you know, anybody who owns a business knows that that's easier said than done. So, you know, just giving myself days where I just shut my phone off and, you know, disconnect from the business and hope and pray it doesn't burn down while I'm gone helps a lot.
If folks want to check out your channel, where can they find you? And also, if anyone's interested in purchasing something as part of an auction event, how can they get in touch with you?
So my YouTube channel, Resale Rabbit. YouTube is the easiest place to find me. I am on Instagram and Facebook, but I am very bad at keeping up with that. And then of course, TitletownAuctions.com. We do weekly auctions if you want to check it out. Many items are shippable. A lot are pickup only because we do sell furniture and vehicles and stuff like that too. But and then we've got our warehouse sales, Wisconsin Liquidation Center. We post on Facebook first when we're having them. It's once every few months or so.
As we wrap up here, I just want to say I'm not a Packers fan, but I appreciate the talent that they've had. I'm a Bears fan. I know I didn't wear this during the interview. I feel very bad about that, honestly, because this is a very nice gift. He surprised me. Thanks a lot. But seriously, thank you very much for this kind gift and as a little welcome to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I really appreciate it. You're a very great guy. Thank you for your time today and for sharing your story, being vulnerable, and showcasing what can be done if you kind of persist.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming up here.
Thank you. And folks, that does it for another episode of The Locals. If you're interested in more stories about great entrepreneurs, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.